Okay. Right, thank you. What was that street corner, Karen? All right, welcome back. Let's start to peek at the exploration of the soul. A year and a half ago, I did a full-day seminar in East Pawtucket, and it was called Soul.
Do you want us to record?
Yeah. It was called Soul Smart Wisdom, and that full day, it was a 6-hour seminar, and what I did was I broke it down into 3 parts. The first was to just explain what we're doing here. There really is like a science kind of answer about what our souls are doing here in these human bodies. It's interesting that I feel when I started to understand the scientific explanation, if you can call it scientific, once I started to understand like the science reason for us being here, and it made sense and it was explainable, and every single thing would validate and prove the concept of why we're here. Life got a little bit more peaceful for me because things made sense. So that was one part of the day. The second part of the day was that I really helped people to understand how to connect with that source that I connect with, whether it's your guides, the universe, universal consciousness, your higher self, creator, existence itself. But we worked on, 1/3 of the day, we worked on ways to be able to have that conduit for yourself in whatever level you're able to. It doesn't have to be the way that I do it, and it doesn't have to be the way anybody else does it, but in your own special, unique way to enhance your ability to know your interconnectedness with the partnership that we have that is eternally based and eternally wise, doesn't have the masks and layers and the burdens that we have on Earth. And the third part was that just so people could understand the magnitude of the journey of the soul, the last third of the day is that I read everybody's past lives to help us see how consequential the domino effect really is. And it's not to say that we need to resolve an issue from 1740 or you got to go back to 1320 and you got to solve that. That's not the point. The point is that we are evolutionary and we are comprised of everything that we've experienced since the inception of our soul. And we become less conscious of our experiences from previous lives. But if there are unresolved experiences where we haven't taken in the wisdom or had the aha moments from those experiences, then our curiosity and our challenges and our pushes and our pulls on Earth here, and also slight little triggers that help bring those memories forth in an unconscious way, is how we stay on the continuum of the journey of the soul. So the soul doesn't start here and it doesn't end here. And it didn't start the first time we became human and it didn't end the first time we were human. It is on an incredible spectrum of eternal existence. Guides show it to me more represented as a spiral than as a line. We're not linear, even though we behave very linear on Earth. We are a spiral. We're spiraling. It's not that we're going to get to a point where we bounce off the top of the spiral, but what it is the spiral does get smaller. And when you're higher on that spiral, think about how much more you can see. So all of the spiral is a bit of your being, right? And it's not, here's something really interesting. When I was going through my first couple of years of communicating with guides, it was the first time I ever heard that the astrological representation of our zodiac signs is also representing the enlightenment path of humanity on Earth. And guides showed me a little bit of how this works. They didn't go into dates because there are no beginnings and no ends that are true. There are no hard lines in the process. They're soft lines. You might enter into an age for 40 years and exit it for 100 years and be in it for 2 years. And then the next one might be a 3-day period or age. But the way we can see the ages is that the age of Aquarius is what we're all familiar with based on the great music of the 1960s. The age of Aquarius was the beginning of us liberating ourselves from human-placed trials and handcuffs and anchors. It was to free ourselves to be souls and not to be soldiers. And so you get to see the age of Aquarius is an opportunity for us to collectively experience another possibility of being soulful on Earth. We did the best we could in the 60s, and we amped up a lot. Didn't quite get there, but we started the domino effect, and it's still going. So interesting that you did play All We Need Is Love. So with clarity, a lot of wisdom and insights came through, but we didn't have the structure yet to sustain the ripples, and we also couldn't sustain the ripples without LSD, so it was kind of important that we find alternate means. So the age did start, and what's really interesting is the idea is that when we go through all of the ages, that we're going to get back to the beginning, right? And when I first heard this, I'm like, oh gosh, that really sucks. You know, who wants to do that? Do I really want to, do I really want 10 million people dying in a stupid war where people are just following each other and doing stupid things? No, we don't want that again. So I can't see it like that. But if you take the concept of the circle of the zodiac sign, beginning with Aries and ending at the end of Pisces, when we begin Aries again, we're not beginning Aries where we started Aries, where humanity began. We're starting Aries at the top of the spiral, where we get the advancement knowledge of everything that happened going through the spiral the first time. So it's very important to see yourself in a continuum of growth and development, not in a circle and not in a line. That's the first part about the development of the soul. Yeah.
But maybe it's like the Mayan calendar. There is no end. It just goes around.
Yes, and that's, yes.
Right,
and
there is
exactly,
an end,
yes.
and that's why that whole thing was
even
wrong,
if you see that
because if you have one, then you can use it every year. It has all the moons and everything, and it just goes on and on and on and on.
Exactly. But the whole idea of it being in spiral form is simply that we don't have to repeat our I don't want to say we don't have to repeat our mistakes. It sounds too simple. But we don't have to repeat the periods of a lack of enlightenment that humanity experienced. And I think it's far more liberating to say we're not in a circle, but we're in a spiral, that we're growing from this sense of enlightenment. I know there are so many accidental things that came to change my life when I went through the process of communicating with guides on a daily basis, because I was so intrigued that I didn't stop asking questions. And I do look back on that period, those 2 years, and I know I really was obsessive. There's no other definition for what I was. I was obsessed, like to the point of it probably being almost a little on the unhealthy side, because obsession means, right? So let's go with that. Okay. But so I was obsessed. But I realize now in hindsight that the reason I was obsessed is because once I got through those 2 years, I didn't know how long I was going to be obsessed. I didn't plan to be obsessed. I didn't even know I was obsessed. But once I got through that 2 years, my whole life is about having a clear conduit. There's very little that I do on a daily basis that doesn't have something to do with having a clear conduit. So if I didn't dedicate myself to making sure that I scrape that thing clean for the benefit of everybody, then I wouldn't be able to do what it is that I do. So I get to see things, and I have accidental experiences and accidental changes and shifts that were never told to me by guides. Guides really didn't tell me what was happening next. I can't tell you how ignorant I was every single day and every single week that I would communicate with them, with not knowing where I stood in the big picture of anything, not even in the context of my own life. I really didn't understand anything until I had hindsight. But one of the byproducts of it is that, and I didn't expect this, there's a difference between not caring and not caring. And I don't care. Okay? And that's very different than the old I don't care. The old I don't care is I don't care, or I just really don't care. So that's the old I don't care, right? But the new I don't care, it doesn't concern me. It's not I'm turning away from it because I can't deal with it, and it's not that I'm pretending that I don't care because it's too painful. So it's not either of those anymore. It's just that I'm just not concerned. And I remember like times when guides would tell me these things, these ways that they felt, and try to help me understand the ways that they felt without bodies, and how liberating it is to be without a body. And they would explain these two things to me, and I always felt like I was just, that was them but not me, and I never understood that what they were telling me was possible on Earth. I just didn't get that connection at all. Okay, I always saw it as they were trying to help me recover from my own childhood, which was a really nice and sweet thing to do. So the not caring part means that I don't have the same concerns for people that other people have. I don't bring my vibration down when you suffer. My vibration coming down when you suffer doesn't help you. The only thing that helps you is if I keep my vibration up. And I stay in the truth of this continuum and this knowledge, and I know that me being where I am as a conduit for wisdom for you is going to give you a place to go. It's going to give you a possibility. It's going to give you a destination, or it's going to plant a seed. It's going to be able to contribute something to the state of pain that you believe you are in this moment. But if I come down to where you are, I'm right there with you in the muck. I'm trying to wade through the swamp water side by side with you, and we're both stuck in the mud then. And that doesn't help me, and that doesn't help you. So the idea here is that if you start to see and feel and know, and a level that you're really bringing it in, that we are eternal, and you start to just see this slice as not something to keep resisting. This isn't, we're not here to resist. We're not here to suffer. We're not here to be in pain. We're not here to be less than. We're not here to have less. We're here to be free. We're here to be vibrant. We're here to explore, to feel joy, to be happy to get up in the morning, to want to be exactly who we are, and to have permission to be exactly who we are. And boy, do I know that there are a piece of hair. So boy, I know there are so many areas where I could rally up people and we can attack things. We can attack the roots. I know we can do it. We can march on Washington. We can get up to Albany. We can go down to Suffolk County. We can go here. We can do this. We can do that. We can campaign. We can pour our angry energy into things and keep attacking the roots of what's not working well, attacking the roots of evil. But that's not the way we're going to change ever. You can't change something that is not in a state of love with anything but love. The only way you can change something that's not in a state of love is with love. So we can complain and we can come down to the level where everybody else is living at, and we can fight and we can resist. And we can fight and resist the level that we might be at if we're suffering the consequences of the disconnect from the soul that we had in our own childhood. But that's not going to resolve anything. And I found that the freedom of understanding at the core of my being, remembering at the core of my being that we are eternal, helped this to feel less consequential, right? One of the earlier sayings that I had channeled through guides is, I can't think of exactly how you know I channel, right? Because I can't think of it. But it was something like, gee, maybe you remember, something about just, taking your life so seriously makes for a very serious life. Mm-hmm. Taking your life so seriously makes for a very serious life, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what this is all about? Is that what's all about? No, that's not what this is about. If you just stop taking your life so seriously, stop taking other people so seriously, stop taking their likes and their dislikes and their actions and their lack of action, and stop taking it all so seriously. It's really not that big of a deal. There's actually very, very few things that are that big of a deal. Very few things are that big of a deal, really, right? You break an arm, people drive you, or you drive yourself. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. The things, when you start to see that this life It's just here to be lived and loved and to be vibrant and rich and enjoyed. When you start to live like that, all the stuff that you think is a big deal, it does start to melt away anyway. It starts to melt. And that's the wisdom of the soul, when you remember that the soul is here to be happy. The soul is here to explore and grow. In order to kick off our personal, because I know we have less time tonight than we're going to have in the rest of our meetings this year, but in order to kick off the concept of exploration of the soul, it's very important that you take that truth in. The fact that we are here to be vibrant, to be happy, to be ourselves, to recall on any possible level that we can what we knew before we were born. And there are tons and tons of ways to get to the point that we recall what we knew when we were born, and to explore exactly who we are, the essence of our being. One thing I always find comical is when I meet somebody, and it happens too often. But when I meet someone, here's how I always see it. It helps. The visuals really help for me when I'm communicating with people, because I really need the visuals for it. But if you see, like, if you've ever been in a music studio and they have tons and tons and tons and tons of levers, right? And here's high and here's low, right? Like, say, so this is bass and this is treble, right? And then you move the lever, right? So our essence is like a million of these, right? And when we come to Earth, what we're doing is we're trying to find the resonance in where we put all those levers. When we hit that resonance, this one's here, this one's here, this one's here, this one's in the middle, this one's a little lower. When we tweak those levers with all of the different characteristics and traits and personality bits we can have, and our skill set and our focus and our curiosity and our attractions and our repulsions, when we get that, we hit the right vibration, we are who we are, and we hit it. And there's nothing in the world that can stop us. Nothing that can stop us from being free, from being happy, from being expressive, from being not susceptible to others and people's opinions of us, but to be a new kind of fearless, a new kind of courageous. It is vibrations. It's about vibrations. It's easy to understand it through music, because when you change the bass, when you change the bass and the treble, you feel different in what you hear. You might have a preference for bass, someone else might have a preference for a treble. And you get to see how nuanced, if you multiply that by so many levers, you get to see how nuanced it is, the tweaking. So you might have come to Earth in the last Earth life, and you had all those levers were so far away from the vibration of your being that you were just a mess. And that whole life you felt out of sorts. You didn't feel like you fit in this body or this town or this civilization or this year or this family, right? Nothing's working. Everything you try, you fail. Because your levers are all out of whack. You have to learn how to move those levers into what is resonating with you, what makes you feel comfort, not out of escape, but out of truth. Not out of escape, but out of truth, okay? It's not hiding out of fear, but it's experiencing out of truth what the vibration is of you. That's what the exploration of the soul is in the human journey. So I started saying that I have too many times when I meet somebody, intuition when I'm with someone. I know a lot of people don't know what I'm doing, and I have a lot going on when I'm with you, when I'm focused on you. So when I get brain freeze and I just have such a hard time getting dates and stuff like that, I really can't do it because there's so much else going on. And one of the intuitions that I'm going to get is, how's your lever system? How's your lever system? And unfortunately, most people that I meet for the first time, it's like, oh my God, just Stop letting someone play with your levers. Get their hands off your mixing board, okay? Tell them to back up. I don't even care if they're dead. Take their earthly memory shadow the hell off your mixing board, because they don't really know you, do they? They know nothing about you. They've tried to fashion you in a sense of what they want you to be, or they think you should be, but that is not you. So get them off your mixing board. Get them off, right? That's the first step, is get them off of you. Get them away. Don't give anyone permission to mix up your levers unless you know exactly what it is that they're doing. And then pay attention to the vibration. Pay attention to how you feel when they're moving those levers on you. That's the whole basis for the exploration of the soul. You're the only one that should be moving your levers. And when you are moving them, you want to pay attention to how the differences make you feel. All right? One of the things that I resisted was, I always joke, I didn't speak for the first 35 years of my life. The earth really did have peace at one time. So I didn't talk for 35 years. And I didn't talk because I really was introverted. I was really shy. I had nothing to say. I really didn't. So I spoke, I was sociable. I was friendly. But I didn't go out of my way to, enter into conversations, or I just didn't really talk very much. I would never speak in front of a group, ever. And I thought that I was flawed because of my very, very deep shyness. I thought that I was flawed. So I would hide my shyness by being shy. So if I was invisible, nobody would know I was flawed by being shy. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right. So I went from shy to invisible. So I really, in a lot of circumstances in my life, I tried to just be invisible. And, shyness was one part of it, but there were other levers that made me feel more comfortable being invisible than to have anybody know that I existed. And so now that I'm still so shy, now,
come on, you can tell us.
No,
get it out.
Yeah. That's tonight, keep it going.
Now that I flipped the lever. Now that I flipped the lever, I have a lot to say. But I'm going to tell you honestly that if you take me out of when I'm allowed to talk about this stuff, I'm allowed to talk about this stuff here. But you take me out of the situation where I'm allowed to speak about this stuff, and you put me in a really different vibrational situation, I have nothing to say.
You go on mute again?
And I really am very, very quiet, and I don't enjoy that kind of circumstance. I really don't. So I know my lever. That's the point. So my shyness fades when I'm living in my being. If I have to hide who I am by any audience or crowd that I am with, the lever goes back to the place where it doesn't belong. And then I feel uncomfortable. I feel out of sorts. Something doesn't feel right. I feel uncomfortable. I become self-conscious. Okay? Clearly, I am not self-conscious anymore. But that's the point, is I figured out where that lever is. In my business career, where I was heading, I was going to be more and more in front of more and more people. It was a part of my job, actually, to have to talk to people. I really didn't like it, but if I continued in that career, it was going to happen more and more. And every single time I would come away from the front of the audience or off the stage or whatever it is I had to do, I would be uncomfortable for hours after. I would feel like I had 11 cups of coffee. I would need feedback from people to tell me, anything. Just tell me anything positive, because I just needed to recover from having been in front of the audience. And it doesn't happen now, because back then I was representing a company, and I was representing their structure and their beliefs and my responsibility to the organization. I wasn't representing myself, and in business you really didn't have an opportunity to represent yourself when you speak on behalf of the company. if I went in there and I started putting emojis on the board and I started to be who I really am, I'd lose my job, honestly, right? You guys have no idea how hard it was for me to go from being a business person to being the person that I am. The first time I signed like an email, like something like, "Have a good day." Oh my gosh, I hope the company isn't reading my email, because I should be writing sincerely or regard, right? And let me double check the grammar and the spelling one more time, right? So when I started doing this and I started writing, "Have a good day, comma, Karen," I was like, oh my gosh, this person isn't going to take me seriously. This person will never sign up for coaching. This person, because I'm not, how can anyone take me seriously, right? Now, if anyone's gotten an email from me lately, well, you guys know what they're like. They're not perfunctory, they're not formal, and there's no regards in there whatsoever, nor sincerely. Unless I say, I sincerely adore you. But the point is that the reason I'm comfortable now in being in front of an audience is because I am myself now. I'm not anybody else's version of what I should be. I'm not doing anything that anybody tells me I should do. I've been... I know there are things I could do to improve as a speaker, and there are times that I've actually tried to do some of those things I'm supposed to do to be an improved speaker. And I can't really stay in the lane very much, because the second my left brain gets up here, I'm not a conduit to your guides anymore. So I just said, you know what, I'm not even going to bother to try. But that's good, because I shouldn't have to try. I shouldn't have to try to be something that anybody tells me I should be. If this is where the "I don't care" comes in, this is not an insult to anybody. But if someone doesn't enjoy my presence or my delivery that's coming from me, truly from me, I really don't care, and I don't care, and I don't care. I really just honestly don't, because it doesn't affect my reality. It doesn't affect me. It means I'm not the appropriate vibration for you, and I'm okay with that. There are plenty of vibrations and mixing boards and delivery systems out there. There's a mixing board for you. You're going to find something out there that is vibrating on your level, that feels right and resonates with you. And if I'm not in it, I am just so grateful that there are so many points of light on Earth, because there's going to be another one out there for you if it's not me. And that is the liberty of knowing that this is a small slice of the whole entire bit of our eternal being, is that you can let go of this superfluous nonsense that we hold on to. And you don't have to have permission to be who you are anymore. You don't have to have permission to be who you are. You can give yourself permission to be who you are. One of the really interesting things over the years I've had, it really has been a privilege. I'm not just saying this to sound like I'm a really good person, but it has been a privilege to be able to speak to audiences that are all Muslim, all Hindu, all Baptist, all Christian, all Jewish. The numbers of times I've had groups that came together based on their religious belief, and it was not my religion. It has been a really great privilege to be able to speak in those environments. And the fact that any one of those groups would bring me in and let me speak about spiritual matters, even if it may conflict with their own belief system, means that this has got to be resonating. There's something universal about this that transcends any defined religion. And the point is that we all have access to this unstructured self. We all have access to this wisdom that we were born with. I didn't get rid of a religion because it bothered me. I stepped away from a construct that wasn't connected to being a pure expression of the vibration of love. Doesn't mean some aspects of it weren't, but all aspects weren't. Therefore, it wasn't a vibrational match to me. And that's what you all can do, is you can all find that thing that resonates. You can find that thing. And so in my access to having such a broad reach of different kinds of clients, I also see the consequence of the dominoes that reach generation after generation after generation. And I still am coming across people with circumstances of arranged marriages, homophobia, resistance to women having careers. I come across everything all the time. But some of the real old world stuff, like arranged marriage